about 10 years ago. No, it's more than that. About 10 years and 4 months ago. 10 and a half years ago, let's say. Over a decade ago. I'm sure the Porcelain documentary brings it up. So when I was really down and out, I had a GoFundMe for my probation. Like, I was literally on probation and I wasn't making enough money. I was in a bad spot, like temporarily in a jam where I was like, oh, they're going to throw me in jail if I don't come up with this money. So like, I did a GoFundMe, whatever. It's not my proudest moment. But Dr. Steve was one of the first, like one of the only people when I was sending it to people aggressively, like in their DMs. Dr. Steve was one of the only ones that actually reached out and was like, do you have a pay? I don't think I had a PayPal yet. I might have, but he might have asked for something up. He's like, yeah, I could send you like this or whatever, but do you have a way of sending that? And I don't think I did, and didn't worry about, like, Dr. Steve, despite the fact that we barely knew each other, was one of the only people to reach back out. Even though it was a frivolous GoFundMe, it was like, yeah, I drove drunk and ruined my life, and now they're repoing my car, and I'm up, and I just need money for just getting my probation on track, so that, you know what I mean? And he was one of the only ones to reach out out of everybody I knew in that circle. And I recalled this story to him when we were at the Who Are These Podcast things. I was like, you probably don't even remember this, but 10 years ago, I was at rock bottom. The GoFundMe was literally called like I up, you know, and it was like and I need help, and I don't have family with money, and I don't have any family. I don't have really anyone who can help me. Like, I'm really like, please, if I don't pay these probation fees, and it was a temper before I started selling drugs, like before the drug selling thing came up and I started being self-sufficient again, there was this moment where I was just down and out, and I'm like, I'm going to jail if I can't come up with these fees. Dr. Steve is one of the only guys to reach out and ask, like, is there another way I can do these? And I can't remember because the funny thing is when I brought it up to him at the thing, he goes, well, did I give you money? And I was like, no, you didn't actually, because I didn't have the avenue for you to send it like that you had. And he was like, oh, well, then like, why the thanking me? And I was like, because it didn't matter. It was my lack of having maybe I had a green dot card back then instead of a regular bank account. It was one of those kind of things where I was so ghetto and we were so disconnected. Like, that's what I explained to him. Like, I was so ghetto and we were so disconnected that there was nowhere for you to send it legitimately. And he didn't have any of that shit back then. And he's like, yeah, I just don't, but like, it was so funny. We were talking backstage and all that. That was such a fun conversation at the WATP live thing. I was like, I just want to thank you, man. You don't even probably remember this, but 10 years ago, blah, blah, blah. And he reached out, and you were one of the only people to respond and give me a little bit of hope. And you just said like, oh, well, I'm not on that website. I'm not signing up for that. But do you have this or that or the other thing? And I was like, I don't. And he's like, because I just remember him going, well, did I give you money? And I was like, you didn't, but and he looked disappointed. I'm like, it's not your fault. It just was complicated. And he's like, I get it. I'm like, but he reached out, nobody else was reaching out back then. It was very unfashionable. I'll put it this way. When I was reaching out to people I knew back then, and I was friends with people on Facebook and people in comedy, and I knew people from the extended universe, I was friends with people that we were all on the same level of nobody knew who they were. One of them was Tim Dillon. This is a fun little story. I don't even know if I should give you guys this story. I don't know if I should give everybody the tie-in between Dr. Steve, Tim Dillon, and Porcelain. I don't think I'm going to do that tonight. We're gonna have to tally up the money first, because I can't even break this thing out, and I just put batteries in it. And this is one of those cheap, shitty devices that's constantly draining the batteries I put into it.